Single dad walked in on his CEO boss crying. Her quiet request shocked him. Have you ever had a moment that completely changed how you saw someone? That's what happened to Mark Reynolds when he accidentally walked in on his always composed CEO in a moment of vulnerability. What she asked him next would transform both their lives forever. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more real human stories that remind us we're all fighting battles others know nothing about. Mark's shoulders ached as he trudged back to his office at 9:30 p.m. The babysitter had called, his daughter Emma was running a fever, and he needed to grab his laptop before heading home. 3 years as a single dad had taught him to always be prepared for these emergencies, but tonight of all nights, he'd left his computer at work after the marathon budget meeting. The 37th floor was eerily quiet. The cleaning crew had already come and gone, leaving behind the faint smell of lemon polish and emptied trash bins. Mark moved quickly through the darkened hallway, passing the executive suite without a second thought, until he heard it. A muffled sob coming from behind the partially open door of CEO Victoria Chen's office. He hesitated. Victoria Chen was legendary at Meridian Technologies, brilliant, composed, and intimidating. In 5 years working under her leadership, he'd never seen her so much as flinch during even the most hostile board meetings. She was the Ice Queen, the strategic mastermind who had tripled the company's market share in just 4 years. Mark should have kept walking. It wasn't his business. But something in that sound, raw pain that transcended professional boundaries, made him knock gently on the door frame. Miss Chen? I'm sorry to disturb you. Is everything all right? The silence that followed was deafening. For a moment, he thought she might not have heard him. Then came her voice, stripped of its usual authority. Come in, Mark. He pushed the door open slowly. Victoria sat behind her massive desk, her normally perfect appearance in disarray. Her blazer was draped over a chair, mascara tracked down her cheeks, and several crumpled tissues littered the polished surface before her. The sight was so incongruous with the woman he knew that Mark momentarily froze. I apologize for the intrusion, he said awkwardly. I just came back to get my laptop. Emma's sick, and I need to. How old is your daughter now? Victoria interrupted, her voice steadier as she wiped at her face. 6, Mark replied, surprised by the personal question. In all their interactions, Victoria had never once asked about his family. She nodded, looking down at a framed photograph on her desk that Mark had never noticed before. Mine would have been 7 next month. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Mark felt the floor shift beneath him as the context suddenly, horribly, made sense. I didn't know you had a child, he said softly. Had. Victoria's voice cracked on the word. Leukemia. It's been almost 2 years now. Mark's heart constricted. As a father who lived in constant fear of anything happening to Emma, the pain Victoria must be carrying seemed unfathomable. I'm so sorry, he said, knowing how inadequate the words were. Victoria straightened in her chair, visibly trying to reassemble her professional facade. I don't discuss it. Not with anyone at the company. I'd appreciate your discretion. Of course, Mark assured her. She looked at him then, really looked at him, as if seeing past his title of senior financial analyst for the first time. You're raising Emma alone, aren't you? Yes. Her mother left when she was 3. Victoria nodded, something shifting in her expression. You're good at your job, Mark. I've noticed. But you've turned down 2 promotions in the past year. Mark shifted uncomfortably. The positions would have required more travel. With Emma, I just can't. I understand, Victoria said, surprising him again. She was silent for a moment, seeming to debate something internally. Then she took a deep breath. I have a request. It's unconventional. Mark waited, unsure what to expect. Would you bring Emma to the office sometime? The question came out in a rush, as if she needed to say it before she lost her nerve. Not during work hours. Maybe on a weekend. She gestured helplessly at the photograph. Sophia loved visiting my office. She thought the view was magical. The request was so unexpected, so human, that Mark felt his own eyes grow damp. This woman who commanded boardrooms and made million-dollar decisions with unwavering confidence was asking, with vulnerability that broke his heart, for a glimpse of the childhood her daughter would never have. "I'd be honored," he said simply. Victoria's relief was palpable. "Thank you." She straightened again, visibly pulling herself together. "Now go home to your daughter, Mark." "That's an order." As Mark turned to leave, Victoria added, "And Mark? That promotion to Director of Financial Strategy is still open. We could modify the travel requirements." The next Saturday, Mark brought Emma to the office. She wore her favorite purple dress and carried her beloved stuffed elephant. Victoria met them in the lobby, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, an outfit that shocked Mark more than finding her in tears had. "You must be Emma," Victoria said, kneeling to the child's level. "I'm Victoria. Your dad works for me." Emma studied her solemnly. "Do you make him work late?" "Because sometimes he has to miss bedtime stories." Mark winced, but Victoria laughed, a genuine sound that transformed her face. "I promise to make sure he's home for bedtime stories more often," she told Emma seriously. "Would you like to see the view from my office? On clear days, you can see all the way to the mountains." Emma nodded enthusiastically, and as they rode the elevator to the 37th floor, Mark noticed Victoria watching his daughter with a mixture of joy and pain that made his chest ache. In Victoria's office, Emma pressed her nose against the floor-to-ceiling windows, gasping at the city spread out below. "It's like being a bird," she exclaimed. Victoria smiled. "That's exactly what my daughter used to say." Emma turned, curious. "You have a daughter?" Mark tensed, but Victoria answered calmly. "I did. Her name was Sophia. She loved this view too." "Where is she now?" Emma asked with a child's directness. Victoria met Mark's concerned gaze before answering. "She became a star. The brightest one in the sky." Emma considered this. "Can we see her star from here?" "Not during the day," Victoria said gently. "But she's always there." Emma nodded, accepting this with the simple wisdom of children. Then she spotted Victoria's desk. "Is that where you sit to be the boss?" Victoria laughed again. "It is. Would you like to try it?" What followed was an hour of Emma, playing boss, making important phone calls on Victoria's disconnected desk phone and signing documents on a notepad Victoria gave her. Mark watched in amazement as his intimidating CEO got down on her knees to be Emma's assistant, bringing her apple juice in a coffee mug and taking dictation. When Emma eventually tired of the game and curled up on the office sofa with her elephant, falling asleep almost instantly, Mark and Victoria stood by the windows, looking out at the city. "Thank you," Victoria said quietly. "This means more than you know." "She likes you," Mark replied. "She doesn't warm up to many people." Victoria smiled faintly. "Children have good instincts." She paused. "I meant what I said about the promotion. We could restructure it, less travel, more flexible hours. You're too valuable to lose because our policies aren't compatible with parenthood." Mark studied her. "Why me? There are other parents at the company." Victoria was quiet for a long moment. "After Sophia died, I threw myself into work. It was the only way I knew to keep breathing. But lately, I've been thinking about her legacy. About what kind of company she would have been proud of me building." She turned to face him. "A company that recognizes talent shouldn't be penalized because someone chooses to be present for their child." 2 months later, Mark accepted the promotion to Director of Financial Strategy. The position came with a substantial raise, flexible hours, and minimal travel. More surprisingly, it came with a friendship with Victoria that defied the corporate hierarchy. Victoria became a regular visitor to Mark and Emma's modest apartment for Sunday dinners. She helped Emma with her science projects and attended her school plays. In turn, Mark became Victoria's confidant at work, the one person who saw beyond the CEO facade to the grieving mother beneath. 6 months after that first night, Victoria implemented a company-wide policy overhaul, expanded parental leave, on-site childcare, and flexible work arrangements for all employees. The business press called it revolutionary. Meridian's employee retention soared. On the anniversary of Sophia's death, Mark and Emma joined Victoria at the cemetery. Emma placed a drawing beside the small headstone, a picture of a little girl among the stars, looking down at 3 figures holding hands below. "Is that us?" Victoria asked, her voice thick with emotion. Emma nodded. "You, me, and Daddy. And that's Sophia watching over us." Victoria knelt and pulled Emma into a gentle hug. Over the child's shoulder, her eyes met Mark's, filled with gratitude and something more, a tentative hope for the future. 1 year to the day after Mark walked in on Victoria crying, he found himself back in her office after hours. This time, he wasn't there by accident. This time, they sat together on the sofa, talking about the future, their future, possibly, if they were brave enough to explore the feelings that had grown between them. "I never expected this," Victoria admitted. "After losing Sophia, I thought I'd never let myself be vulnerable again. And I never thought I'd find someone who understood what it means to put your child first," Mark replied. "Emma adores you." Victoria smiled, the expression reaching her eyes in a way it rarely had before. "The feeling is mutual." She hesitated. "I'm still broken in many ways, Mark. I always will be." "We're all broken," he said simply. "But sometimes the broken pieces fit together to make something new." As they looked out at the city lights, Mark reflected on how a single moment, walking through a door he could have easily passed by, had changed everything. One act of compassion had rippled outward, transforming not just their lives but the culture of an entire company. Sometimes the most profound connections begin in our most vulnerable moments. Sometimes seeing someone's pain is the first step to healing your own. And sometimes, the family you build from broken pieces becomes stronger than you ever imagined possible. If this story touched your heart, remember that compassion costs nothing but can change everything. Like and subscribe for more stories that remind us of our shared humanity and the unexpected ways we find connection in this complicated world.